Good morning, Kinder family. I have another story that I absolutely love for you today. It's written by Mr. J and illustrated by Aaron Wozniak, and it's titled Ricky, the Rock That Couldn't Roll. And this is a true story about friendship and really about friends that treat you like family. And that's what I want our class to become. And so I'd like us all to listen carefully and think about how we can be a lot like some of the characters in this story. When I look at the cover picture, I see that this must be Ricky because out of all the rocks on the front cover, this looks like the only rock that wouldn't be able to roll. And I can see that he doesn't look very happy about not being able to roll, does he? Looks like there are tears in his eyes. He has a sad face, and I feel really badly for Ricky. And I appreciate when illustrators do a good job of telling us about the story without any words, just through their pictures. And so I'm really anxious to look and see if Ricky's problem is solved in this story. Ricky, the rock that couldn't roll. And here is the title page, Ricky, the rock that couldn't roll. Now on this page, it looks like all the rocks are happy. They all look really happy here. I do see a rock hiding back here, and you can't really tell how they're feeling. Over the lake and out past the bay was a green, grassy hill where the rocks came to play. They would race to the top to take in the view, then roll their way down the way rocks love to do. So they had a good time climbing up and then rolling down. There were Kip, Pip, and Chester, and Marvin the Boulder. Ignatius played too, though he was much older. And a group called the Pebbles never sat still, zigzagging their way up and over the hill. And the illustrator has named the rocks. This is Kip, Pip, and Chester. Here's Marvin the Boulder. So a boulder must be a very large rock because he's giant. And Ignatius is much older, they said. And here are the pebbles who never stay still, and they're zigzagging, and pebbles must be tiny rocks because in the illustration they're very small. Kai was a meteorite, and not from this planet, and Maya was lava, but taken for granite. And so they're talking about Kai. He's a meteorite. A meteorite is rock that comes off of a meteor and that flies past us. And Maya is lava rock that comes from a volcano. And then you can see there are some speech bubbles here. So Parker is saying, "How do you make a tissue dance?" And Ebert is saying, "Seriously?" Because Parker's telling a joke. It doesn't look like Ebert thinks it's very funny. Stu was the smart one, Parker the clown, and grumpy old Ebert rolled round with a frown. Gabby was sassy, Lacey had flair, Emma was giggly, and Hud had black hair. So Parker's telling the joke because he's the funny one. Gabby is sassy, and Lacey has flair, and Emma is giggly, and Hud has black hair. You can see that Lacey is answering his joke. So Parker says, "How do you make a tissue dance?" And Lacey says, "You put a little boogie in it." I love the way the illustrator draws lines around the rocks here until it looks like they're rolling, rolling, rolling along. But the one trait that seemed to be shared by them all was that every rock there was shaped like a ball, and because they were round, they could easily roll through the grass past the lake, up and over the knoll. They're all round, and they can all roll, except for poor Ricky, who quietly sat. You see, Rick couldn't roll because one side was flat. So he's not perfectly round like a ball. They're all round like a ball, but Ricky has a flat side. What part of this is supposed to be fun? So there's Ebert, the grumpy one. He doesn't think it's fun to roll like they all do. These words are big with an exclamation mark, so that means I read them loudly to you. His friends didn't get it. "Come roll," they would chant. So they're all calling to Ricky, "Come roll." So Ricky tried. You can see he's got his eyes closed. He's just trying to roll, but replied, "I'm sorry, I can't." But the rocks were determined. They were sure they could solve Ricky's flat-sided problem and help him revolve. So Marvin the Boulder, with his impressive physique, carried Rick all the way to the hill's grassy peak. Big Marvin the Boulder carried Ricky up to the top. Then he pushed him downhill, yelling, "Keep rolling, kid!" But Rick didn't roll. He just kind of slid. "This feels like a bad idea." Rick looks scared, doesn't he? This says boing, boing, boing. No good, no good, no good. Rick looks scared. And this says glue. So the picture clues tell me that looks like they glued these balls on him, and the boing, boing, boing means he bounced. Let's read and find out. Well, the rocks weren't done, not by a mile. Surely this next try would get Rick to smile. They stuck rubber balls all over Rick, using big globs of glue to get them to stick. They were proud of themselves. "This will work," they announced. But Ricky still couldn't roll. Now he just sort of bounced. He definitely doesn't like bouncing. Well, they pushed and they pulled, trying every which way to get Rick to roll. But by the end of the day, nothing had worked, just like Rick expected, and he ended up feeling depressed and dejected. "It's no use," Ricky sighed. "There just isn't a way, so I'll sit off to the side and watch you all play." And that's how he looked on the front cover, right? Very sad. But his friends wouldn't quit. They wouldn't quit, even though it was hard. That's called persevering, when you just won't give up. And at school, we have to persevere a lot because things can be very hard. But we don't give up when things are too hard. And his friends aren't giving up either. His friends wouldn't quit. "We're here for you, brother, and we'll get you to roll one way or another." So they pondered and thought, each straining his brain, till they looked up and saw it was starting. And that's when it hit the smart stone named Stu. You can tell Stu has an idea. So he yells, "Eureka!" he shouted. "I know just what to do." He explained to them how they would get Rick to tumble. "My plan is pure genius." Stu wasn't too humble. So they carried our hero down the road about a mile to the lake where they gathered up mud they could pile. On the flat side of Rick, creating a mound, they shaped, smoothed, and sculpted until it was round. So they used some of the mud from the rain, and they kind of used it like a clay on Rick, didn't they? And they made his flat part round. Then after the rain, with the sun in the sky, they left him to bake till the mud was all dry. They gathered up vines and one colorful feather that they wrapped all around Rick to keep it together. Does anyone have a towel? I think they want to wipe the mud off themselves, don't they? They didn't mind getting dirty for their friend. Look at his face. He doesn't look scared, maybe nervous. Doesn't look sad anymore. What do you guys think? Is this going to work? You have to make a prediction. I'm looking at his flat part. It looks very round. He looks just as round as they do. I think I predict he's going to roll. When the last knot was tied and the work was all done, the only step left was for Rick to have fun. They stood back and watched, feeling nervous and tense, as Rick breathed in deep with increasing suspense. He moved slowly at first, testing out his new mold, and then, for the first time, Ricky the Rock rolled! You can see the rolling that the illustrator shows us, and look at his face! Definitely looks like he's having fun, doesn't he? So Bria, the ladybug who'd been there from the start, felt a surge of pure joy swell up in her heart. She thought as she watched her friends play on the hill that there's always a way if there's also a will. And she said to herself as Ricky rolled down the slope, "When you're surrounded by love, you always have hope." So the ladybug's been there the whole time. She's noting that if you really want to do something and you have good people supporting you, if you have a support system to help you, you will always meet your goals. And that is the end. And that made me think of our class friends because we are going to have plans and we're going to stick to them because that's what our habits say we will do. But we also are a classroom family that are going to support each other as we persevere through hard things. And so this story made me very happy and I loved it. Ricky the Rock That Couldn't Roll. I hope you enjoyed it too.